Welcome, everyone. This is Piney Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Ending,
Hey, everybody.
Terry Adwin,
Hi, hi.
Aerithert,
Hello, everybody.
and Carvet.
At your service and your families.
And please welcome our special guest for tonight, Wildflower.
Hello.
And welcome, Wildflower. And we have a tradition here that whenever we have a new guest here, we ask them how they got involved in Lotro and in Tolkien in general.
Okay. So, as how I got into Tolkien, my dad was into it. So, I kind of would, check it out because I wanted to see what he was all about,
Right.
But as for the game, a couple of years ago, Carve here was like, hey, do you mind if I play this game? And I'm looking at it and I'm like, I will never see him again. So I thought to myself, maybe I should play this game too. So that's how I got involved. So it's like, if you're going to play, I'm going to play. And you're going to teach me how to play.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened too.
And it was painful for him at first because I was super newbie. And but he
It was a
survived.
fun time, yes. It was a fun time. So for those of you who are just tuning in, Wildflower is also known as Mrs. Carve, a.k.a. the real Mrs. Carve, as in my better half, says Carve. So, yeah.
Well, I was getting ready to say, like, Carve isn't just like hanging out with strange women or anything all the time. It was actually
I
his
guess it
wife.
depends on
So
who
I guess it depends on the definition. She lives at the corner of weird and wonderful, and we like it that way. So, Mrs. Carve, Wildflower, how did you get involved in the Lotro community, which is anything other than just playing the game yourself?
I think you were bored one night and you were like, hey, you want to stream with me? And I was like, sure. And then so we played something.
Yeah, we were probably running around
I
Moria
don't-
on our captain. And
I think we were just
Bell.
goofing off.
Yeah.
And then the next week you're like, what should we do? And I was like, oh, we should totally be a dwarf couple. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, I think that was how the Beard Kissers began.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was just me being stupid and it was fun.
yeah, that's an awesome series. Awesome series.
So I think that's how.
So,
Yeah, well,
Pretty much.
to set the Wayback Machine way back, before I even got on this podcast, she was like, we should totally do a gaming couple series where, like, you're the one who knows what's going on, and I'm, like, the one who doesn't, which is actually kind of true. And we were going to do, like, a YouTube show, but between computer issues and not having software and blah, 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 we didn't really know how to do it. But then Twitch came out, and it was like, oh, this is easier.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of spawned off into what became the
true.
streaming that we do now.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
so you don't have to answer this, but how did you meet Carve?
Well, there was this one time. We were in college, and I was involved in University Christian Fellowship, right? That's what it's called. I
Yes.
should know this.
Yes, that was it.
And Eric was involved with Baptist.
The Baptist, it was the Baptist Student Ministries, I think.
And he
yeah.
came with a friend to check out university one
Yeah,
night.
we were checking out the cross-campus churchy competition. No,
checking out
we
the
were-
cross-campus
Yeah, whatever
honeys
it was.
is what he was doing.
Well, we were fostering inter-club relationships.
Yeah, that's what they was doing. And so we met that one time. And no, talk to me now. Sorry, Carvelet. And so we started talking, and then he promptly started dating someone else, which was awesome. And then 3 months later, he stopped dating her and started dating me. So that turned out great. And now we have. So, is she okay, or is she just whining?
She wanted to be tucked in.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Slight mom guilt.
One of us is going to have to hop up and
All right,
do that
I'll
real
go.
quick. But
I'll go do that. Do you have any more questions before I go tuck into Carvelet?
No, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much.
Okay.
That's awesome.
No problem. I'll be right back.
Very well. Then with that over, let's head into our game news.
That ordeal.
Wait, that's that awkward segue. With that over with. Thanks. Way
That
to make
was
her feel
awesome.
appreciated.
That was
It's
so
okay. She
awesome.
didn't hear it. She didn't hear it. It's okay.
That was amazing. She was gone and didn't hear it, and oh, that was so great. So great.
Let's head into the game news.
So great.
And update 18, which was originally scheduled for release on Monday, is going to be delayed 24 hours. It will be delayed and will be released on Tuesday. Anyone have any more details on this?
Well, there is the possibility that it could be delayed even further if they find more issues, but that's, it's
Always the
possible,
case.
but it's always the case. So, it is supposed to be released on the Tuesday, the 12th. So hopefully that'll happen.
Which
Very well.
actually didn't come as a surprise to me because usually the updates happen on Tuesdays. So you can iron out any bugs that they happen to find over the weekend. Or on Monday when they come in.
See, having spent the last 3 weeks sifting through the wreckage of all kind of server issues, working like 18-hour days, I totally support them pulling the plug on any kind of a launch date until they know for sure it's going to work. Because it is so much more difficult to fix stuff on the fly while users are hitting your systems than it is when it's like 2 a.m. and everybody's in bed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm totally glad
And
that they did that.
this bug sounded like it was a major, major bug for certain users at least. So it is good that they're trying to figure this out so that people don't have game-breaking bugs.
Very well. Then let us head into the store sales, which I heard are so toxic that is there anyone who actually wants to touch them?
I might have actually used this sale this week.
It's the sale that
What,
must
what,
not
what,
be
what, what?
named.
I don't even
You,
know you right now, Andy.
what
Oh
did
my
you
monkeys.
buy?
Well, once we mention what's for sale, I'll mention what I bought.
Very well. We have 25% off. Legacy slot unlock, legacy tier upgrades, legacies, scroll combination, and relic removals. Did you buy a relic removal scroll?
No, 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 Pine Leaf. Those are for evil people. I actually got a legendary slot unlock because I was tired of not having room for the bajillion allies I had leveling up all the time.
That
I only
was
bought
Just,
one though.
just destroy them.
You know
that
what?
was
Honestly, I would have to back Andang on this one because I've paid for legendary slots unlocks before too,
Once you
and I
get a war
think
steed, it
yeah,
really
yeah,
helps.
it
You
does. I
need that
think
extra
that
slot, I
is a
think.
legitimate reason for a legendary sale. Is
I
a
There's
think I've
slot
got
unlocks.
7 unlocked total, but yeah,
And
that's borderline
see,
okay.
there's no real reason to unlock slots because I could see it if you could pull legacies off of a lower level weapon and hoard it and store it, and then put it on a higher level weapon later. But that's not the case. So there's no real point to having a ton of weapons leveling.
Well, I mean,
except if you
if
don't want
you're
to go
one of
back to
those
the
characters
reforge
who
guy
likes
every 10 seconds.
well that, and if you're one
Practice
of
with
those
me because
characters who
that's what
likes
is
to
wrong with
have,
people.
like if you're one of those people who likes to have, I've got this weapon for tanking, and I've got this weapon for DPS, and I've got this weapon for this other scenario, and then I've got this, like using
Oh,
Guardians,
how
for example.
tiresome.
You've got the belt, you've got the other belt, and you've got the other belt, and you've got this bridle and that bridle.
Yeah,
I
that's,
mean,
that's way
if
too
you're
much bag
if
space.
you are, that kind of a player, then Legendary Slot Unlock is for you because you'll want to have the weapon to match the situation.
Yeah,
You got to accessorize.
if you
But
have
if
like a
you're a
class
sane
that
person,
does more than one role, like I play a guardian, I have a tank belt, a DPS belt, a tank sword, an AoE DPS sword, and a single target DPS sword. So I have 5 that actually use plus a bridle.
That's
you know what would
ridiculous.
happen
Yeah,
if
That's
I
see, there you
attempted
go.
to keep
ridiculous.
in track of all those weapons?
No, it's
I'll be
awful,
constantly
but
using
it's
the wrong
almost
one.
necessary, really, because there's like the legacies that you use for tanking are completely
Finally,
different
I
than the
would be
ones you use
too.
for.
I would
Yes.
Yeah.
using the wrong one.
But on my main champion, this is confessional time with Anding. I actually bought either I have at least 8 slots. I might have all 10 on my champion for the LI leveling stuff. Just because on my champion, that's the one character that I actually do level LIs and really get into the system. Not saying I like it, but I do get into it. So that's just what I do.
All right. Now, if you're into crafting, though, there is a plus 100% crafting XP as our free sample for the week, and you could use the coupon code given in our show notes. So this week, LOTRO Players News is brought to you by A Lady of Rohan on the go.
New armor from Dunharrow, 350 gold. Matching sword, shield, and spear, 230 gold. Saddlebags and tack for the ride, 30 gold, 95 silver. The look on the Witch King's dying face, priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's Master Charge. Master Charge, accepted anywhere Rohirric horses can roam, from the mountains of Erdluin to the shores of Gondor.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
Now, you do realize that MasterCard actually used to be called Master Charge?
We know now.
Okay, so I was
Swear
completely
house.
referring to the content that's coming in episode 8 or update 18, being the Battle of the Fields of Pelennor, the Master Charge of the Rohirrim.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I didn't know that.
you did not know that MasterCard
No.
was originally called Master Charge.
Nope.
I did, but I didn't think of it when he was coming up with the ad. So,
And besides, the other option was Rohirric Express, but I couldn't think of a funny Rohirric Express parody.
yeah,
So I
Charge
like
is
Master
definitely the
Charge
better one.
Y'all need to get to bed.
Oh, mom voice.
Okay, everybody, let's go to bed.
Okay, don't have to ask me twice. I'm down.
And
Let's
then,
head into the community event highlights for April 8th through the 14th and what you could do in the community while you're avoiding doing your taxes.
my taxes are done.
Mine are done too. Yeah.
Me too.
Anyone have any highlights they wish to mention?
Well, there is this imposing pig poster.
That was today, though.
It was,
Yes.
but it's
Actually,
very
no, it was
imposing.
yesterday.
It's very imposing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out the article because there's really no way to describe it and do it justice. So,
I know on Landreval, the Mythgard kin, this past weekend just had their first RP event in the Prancing Pony, and apparently it went pretty great. I didn't go. That is all.
It's okay. I'm sure they'll forgive you.
Yeah,
It was Tuesday, right?
I have no idea.
Uh,
It
if
was
it
at
was
some
Tuesday,
point.
I didn't go either.
Now,
Mhm.
really, why are these things separated? I personally feel that Small Lotro's Adventures episode 47 and this next article should have been next to each other because they are tied together. And that is because Lily Kay is having a contest, a Electrical contest in the Blue Theater, a Blue Theater Song Contest, where various bands will congregate in the Blue Theater in Minas Tirith, where they will have a little contest, display themselves, and of course, get to play in the lovely theater in Minas Tirith. And in case you wonder why I'm talking about this lovely theater, that is why I was talking about Small Lotro Adventures episode 47, because Lily Kate gives us a full tour of the theater there. So if you have a band on Landreval, or perhaps some also on Landreval to bring your band there, then contact Lily Kate for this, and this will be on June 4th at 2 p.m. server time.
So you have plenty of time to get your stuff organized.
Right. And anyone else have anything they wish to say on this?
the Blue Theater is awesome. I know that's not exactly related, but it's awesome.
Oh, yes, that is. The only problem with the Blue Theater is, of course, is that in order to get there, you do need a few levels on your belt.
Because
Not
there's not the
necessarily.
Wanderer class yet.
Not necessarily, because as Lily Kate points out in her post, you can take a horse from the Southbury stables to Minas Tirith for the low price of 1 Mithril coin.
Well, yeah, there is this little tiny. I don't know why they let you do it at 1 mythical coin, because traditionally the newer zones they charge 5.
I think it's traveling between new zones. I don't think going to a new zone costs more money because
It's
I think they want you to get to the new zone so that you pay them money.
five
Ah.
mithril coins if you're using it to transfer around for the quests in the new area.
Oh,
But
okay.
to actually use the stable routes, it's always one mithril.
All right. Thank you
Oh,
for the information
nice.
there.
Hmm.
So let's head into the poll for this week. And the question is, do you like imbued weapons?
Yes, Pine Leaf Goblin Bane submitted this poll, and 176 people voted. The top answer is I like them in general, but there should be less grind, with 40%, 70 votes.
Wow.
Wow, there's a lot of
Which
guns.
I sort of feels like most people like the idea of imbued weapons, but not the actual execution.
I agree.
Which probably I was meh.
Yeah, that's where I put down. I put down meh also.
I did as well. But we're skipping ahead. Next up is I like them with 30%. And then there's meh, the LOTRO Players News answer with 15%. And there's other with 7%. I don't like them with 4%. And I don't like them because I lost legacies I liked with 3%, 6 votes.
That's actually a valid point because I lost. Champions lost that targeted melee skill range legacy that you could
Yep.
trade up,
Yep.
which really sucked.
Well, fortunately, in the case of the one legacy that I think of that I really missed, what they did is they just gave it as an inherent ability to all wardens, so I didn't have to worry about it. Is that someone's coughing?
No, I sneezed.
Yeah, that was Wildflower sneezing.
I thought that was commentary on the wardens.
Aller-
It was my
No.
commentary on the Warden,
No,
yes,
no,
finally.
no.
My bad.
All right, so let's head into the Blue Mountains, where I heard that we have some lore.
Yes, finally. For the third episode of Middle-earth Lore is finally here after months and months and months and months and months and
Yay!
months and months of waiting. It's finally here. It's been like 7 months since we released an episode. So, very cool to be having this here, and we go through the lore of the Blue Mountains and the origin of the creation of the dwarves, and people seem to really like it. It's been a lot more popular than episode 2 was when it released, so very nice to see this kind of support, and if we continue to have this kind of support, we should be able to release episode 4 soon, so that's exciting.
I am shocked that I have not watched this yet. I've been
What?
waiting for that moment to savor it, and I've been so busy with stuff. I
Aren't you
forgot.
in it?
Well, see, Terry,
Probably.
Carve waits until the episode, the full season
Yes,
comes
right.
out.
I want the entire season to come out so I can savor it all and not have that cliffhanger. No.
You're one of those people who no, I'm gonna watch it on Netflix.
It depends on the movie. No, in this case, it's like, oh, I should circle back and do that, and I just keep forgetting. But I'll do it tonight. I'm leaving it up right now. Watching it tonight.
Very well. Then let's head into LOTRO Academy, episode 122, where we travel on the road to Erebor.
Which was awesome. We had a special guest, Elda, who has actually done most of them with her kin. It's always nice to have somebody on the episode who actually knows what we're talking about.
Eldolith is an old name in LOTRO. Like that, they have been around in the community for a long time. That's awesome.
She has indeed.
Yeah, she has.
She knows her stuff.
And she knows her stuff.
Yeah.
And she's a great person.
Yeah.
And she joined on the field
Can
trip.
we just title this episode "Elda is Great"?
It will certainly be in the running.
Yeah. Yeah, the road to Erebor. At first, I was thinking, well, which road did you take? And then I was thinking, oh, it's talking about the instant clusters. Yeah,
That's right.
I've attempted all of them. I've died in all of them, so that's cool.
Yes. Well, Eldalet apparently has completed more than not completed on that matter. Actually, did they?
I think she. I don't want to say for her. I don't know if she's in chat or not, but I think she and her kin have done all of them except Fires of Smaug Tier 2 challenge.
I think
Right.
that's what she said, yeah.
Yeah. So therefore,
Done all of them.
Which
She
is
knows
pretty
them inside and out.
Which is pretty impressive, yeah.
it's certainly a lot more than I've done. Then let's head into Tales of the Free Folk, episode 14. Where's Carvette?
He's watching the Blue Mountain video. He'll be back in a moment.
This was
He
like
needs
the
to leave a
one
message after the dwarf shout.
really
Baruch beep.
needed a dwarf, and we didn't have one.
Yeah, this was
And
the.
we-
In case you missed it because people were talking over Terry, say it again.
This is the episode where we really needed a dwarf, and we didn't have one.
Absolutely, we did. And this is honestly, if you've never watched Tales of the Free Folk, watch this episode. It was hilarious and just a lot of fun, and we got into an obnoxious amount of trouble, and everything somehow might have worked out all right, or it might not have. You'll have to watch and find out.
At the very end, the dwarf came and saved the day.
Or did he?
Dun,
Is that
dun,
how-
dun.
That's how I remember it. I don't know what y'all were doing.
I'm like, oh, that's how I remember it.
It's telling when you like come back from your event and then you log in and see that people are still doing the show and you just pop into chat like, "Hey guys," and they're like, "Oh, you're back. We
Well,
need you."
It's funny because it's like it's almost like we were actually running an instance in LOTRO, and somebody
Yeah.
comes online and we're like, we need you to get in this instance now. There is horrible stuff going on. Come on.
I love how we incorporate LOTRO
Was
online.
this Saturday?
Yeah, that you were there.
Oh
for
my
that.
gosh, y'all should have seen him. He was like, "Hey, so they're playing, you know." I was like, "All right, go play with
I
your
remember.
friends."
So basically, y'all needed a tank desperately.
Oh, they needed a
Oh,
guy.
Yeah.
It wasn't that they needed a tank.
We didn't need a tank. We needed somebody who knew how to navigate his way out of a paper bag.
We were
Yes.
almost about to bring you out of retirement, Era Third. It was that bad. I mean, we really needed a tank.
That's kind of awesome.
I think the way we reference in-game LOTRO terms in a role-playing situation is things like, and then goes, "I checked my friends list. Is Carb online?"
And I send Carvatel, and he just gets like this message in his head. Oh, it's so great. So
Oh,
great.
it's
Watch
fun.
the episode.
Yes.
All right. Let's then head into Small Lotra Adventures, where Lily Kate had 2 episodes this week. The first was the episode where they toured the Blue Theater, which I mentioned earlier, and in the
See,
second
that's
one,
why I broke it up so we could talk about the Blue Theater twice. See, there's a method to that planning.
All right.
Well,
So,
you know,
what do you wish to add about the Blue Theater?
I actually haven't been there, but it,
I'm gonna say the
Well,
color
that's
scheme
why-
is kind of monochromatic. It's pretty blue.
Actually, it's various different
I have
shades,
the
though.
quest to go there.
Oh, yeah, so-
Edwin on Landreval has the quest to go there. I just haven't gotten around to completing it because every time I log in on that character, it's like I don't really want to do Ministerial stuff.
I'll get into talking about it in my week in Lotro, but there's just some amazing stuff about that theater that you don't necessarily see in this video. So recommend watching this and going to the Blue Theater yourself. It's super awesome.
It kind of got like a seascape thing going on. It's actually quite pretty. It's like,
And then later in the week, we had Small Lotra Adventures episode 48, which was the weekly Bingo Boffin episode.
Which was also really cool. Because, for reasons I can't say.
Okay.
But, well, we're going to do our spoiler thing later,
Yep,
so
yep.
I can't talk about why this episode's awesome.
All right. Then let's then head into Critters Casual, minimal VIP for max results.
This is Squirrel's series on the journey of Max getting the most out of Lotro for the minimum amount of money. So we had 2 of these too, so I put them together.
They're actually quite handy. Very helpful.
Yeah, they are.
Mhm.
yeah, this is good. I think I will definitely have to write this down and reference it next Saturday when I'm doing my free to play adventure.
Right.
I
And
mean,
then
these tips are all over the place, so it's great that Squirrel has managed to compile them all into like one place.
Yeah.
so he squirreled them into a single location.
He squirreled them away into one tree
Yeah.
article.
All the nuts are in this
Single
article.
cache of cash. No, not all the nuts. Just the
No,
cache.
the nuts are on the podcast. The good things
The
are
nuts are talking about the article.
And then his other one was how to get premium account cheaply.
That's
Cheap
cool.
nuts.
You want some cheap nuts? You gotta get peanuts. or sunflower seeds.
So this
Yes, they're
is
considered
basically
nuts.
how to get and unlock the benefits of having a free, or excuse me, having a premium account without having to pay more than peanuts, essentially.
Yeah, chump change.
All
Couple
right.
coppers.
Uh, Anyone else have anything to add on that? Then let's head into the family line, part 86. Ooh, 86, that sounds like a smart one. Yes, number 86, By the Midday Sun.
This is an incredibly involved fan fiction. And totally
That
going
is,
to have to again. I'm going to steal my daughter's tablet and I'm going to sit on the couch and I'm going to read it for hours and hours and hours. And then she's going to be like, "Dad, can I have my tablet back?" And I'm like, "No, I'm only at episode 71."
And then you're gonna be the expert on the family line. Like you'll know even more than Tim somehow. Like
Yeah.
you'll be just
They call
the
me
expert.
Tim? Yes, Tim.
and now, just in case you thought that Squirrel did enough by creating 2 articles this week, we of course also have our usual Critters Journey, number 18, All Kinds of Brown Grumps.
Yeah.
Brown grumps.
This is probably my favorite episode so far,
Wow.
I don't
and that's
understand.
saying a lot because they get more awesome every week. But you have to make sure that you read the quest to the side before you read the comic because
Yeah, definitely.
There's spoilers.
there's not
Or-
It
spoilers.
helps you understand
you
the comic
understand-
better.
Oh,
Helps
gotcha.
you
So
understand
we're all excited about
the
the
action
adventures
is.
of George the Red Chicken.
Yes, we're very excited about the adventures of George the Red Chicken.
Oh, sorry, Georgie. So is Georgie a girl chicken? Or is Georgie just one of those names that could go either way?
Well, it's George. Normally, Georgie, if you're feeling particularly friendly to this chicken.
Oh, gotcha.
Technically, chickens are females, and the
That's
roosters
right.
are
Yeah,
That's
because
right.
usually they call them roosters when they.
Well, hens. They're all chickens, and then there's hens and roosters.
Well, yeah, technically,
the.
yes.
That's
but-
obviously a hen.
You know what I love about this show? Is that I'll make a random comment and then we get into this semantical debate about the gender of chickens.
Well, it's because Pine Leaf's on the show.
Well, you know, yes.
But
Brilliant. But anyway,
Brilliant.
Squirrel's got this fantastic series about a chicken.
Wait, is the squirrel in the series a boy or a girl? Squirrel.
I don't know. Username Squirrel gender.
Drac in the chat says
I'm
that
guessing
she
it's
just
18.
dropped some Pine Leaf logic, and I agree, she did just drop some Pine Leaf logic.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, technically, chickens are the females because roosters are the males.
Well,
What is
They're all
roosters?
chickens. Hens are female.
hens are-
Roosters are. Can you eat a rooster?
You can eat anything.
You can.
I would speculate. fried
Probably
chicken, yeah, why
could.
not?
Drown it in enough
It's probably
butter.
a stew.
The only problem with eating rooster is you get this mad desire to like yell at the dinner table.
Oh my gosh.
And then apparently there's some boasting that goes on, some crowing, some strutting about. Becomes very territorial.
That could be like over the last piece of pizza around here.
I'm pretty sure eating
They said
roosters
it
is the
was
first.
pepperoni, but
Eating
really-
roosters is the first step on the path to eating armadillo. It's there's a linear relation there somehow.
You never know.
Sure ending.
Fair enough.
let's
I was just wondering.
let's head into Poems of the Pine. The Shadowy Abyss, The Shadowy Abyss, which is book 6 of volume
Sunflower.
2.
That looks
We
like
reached the light, and Lorien found were a plea we gave to the garrison dwarves, for the garrison dwarves. After testing our worth, they told us they sent a team of elves into the terrible dark. They started their study in the stony foundation where the nameless and nasty nightmares did dwell. For the Lorien elves, we learned that Mazog sought to build the forces in the foundation's hordes. We scoured the depths of the skyless realm and found the hat that fell from above. From Gandalf it came when he gave his life to let his fellows flee from the mines. We found our foes in the foundations of stone who summoned a sinister fiend. This devilry we stopped to stem the spread of darkness in Durin's old dwelling.
It's awesome, man.
Deep.
And
And
again, it's so much more awesome than actually having to go through that book in Moria. Because slogging through that book is usually a step that I go, nope.
and you notice though that I left out the best part of book 6, which is the mirror.
That's the one in the Foundations of Stone, right?
Yeah, Foundations of Stone.
I've always liked the Foundations of Stone.
Okay, there's one person in the world.
I
Right?
like Foundations as long as I'm on a character class that has no problem wading through waves of enemies quickly. But if
Yeah.
you're like on a Guardian or something that's not properly kitted out, like I was the first time I went through Foundations of Stone, and I didn't have a clue where I was going, I was down there for hours, running in circles, killing out rejects from the Alien series, trying to find the stupid ramp. I was like, oh my gosh.
This is where all the extras went to die.
I know, it's like, forget it. You guys weren't cool enough for Alien Isolation, so now we're gonna isolate you guys down in this armpit of Moria.
I think I would actually like that area if it wasn't after already leaving Moria and coming back.
When you're like, no, I was so close to light and happiness and freedom.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And then you go to the
Wildflower's not
darkest place of
particularly
them
fond
all.
of that one because it's got like the fungus spiders.
Yeah. Was that a Murloc? Did we just have a Murloc on the show?
Yeah, it sounds like a Murloc.
That's Wildflower's I hate spider sound. And if they're too close, it goes from to it increases in pitch, volume, and intensity.
I was
Or
gonna
you could
say,
be
go up
a
an
voice
octave.
actor for
Yeah,
World of
there.
Warcraft, I'm pretty sure. You could take over the Warlock voice acting.
There you go.
Just saying. They don't need
Let's head into our week in Lotro, where we go over what our highlights were from the past week and ending. What were your highlights?
Yes, well, Pineleaf, thank you for not asking me if I did anything interesting this week. I released the third episode of Middle-earth Lore, which sounds like fairly anticlimactic, but it involved a ton of promotion and stuff, so that actually took a lot of my time this week. And also finished the new Minas Tirith quests. I actually went through all of them. It took about probably close to 3 hours, I would say. And I really enjoyed them to the point where I think that if they were part of like the core of Minas Tirith, this would have changed my review score for the better. I actually really like a lot of these quests. There's some really fun ones that I don't want to spoil because they're just really good. There was one that I didn't like as much as the others, but for the majority of the quests, I actually really liked, and I wish that they would have been included in the core of Minas Tirith so that I could have liked the core of Minas Tirith better. But I am glad that these quests were added. They definitely needed to be, and I think it makes the questing experience a lot more enjoyable.
I don't think
But
I
you're
ever
s-
actually finished those.
So it sounds like Endang is saying that these new makeup quests help bring up the average of the entire Minas Tirith
I think
experience.
so, actually. There's one that Erether would really like if he hasn't done it already, where you get to throw something off of somewhere.
Oh boy, I've heard of it.
Yep, it's actually really funny.
Sure.
So I
Chicken
recommend.
murder.
Actually,
Actually,
it is
but
not.
spoiler alert. So yeah, there's a lot of really good quests, and I enjoyed them. I was surprised. I did not expect to be doing that, especially when Maven was like, "Yeah, you don't need to do them, ending. They're not very good." And I was like, "Well, okay, then I won't." But for some reason, I decided to go back in, and I actually really enjoyed them. So it was good. Also, this is the part of the show where Andang spoils Bingo Boppin'. If you want to fast forward a bit, if you don't want it spoiled, feel free to do that about a minute or so. Um, I hunted for like half an hour for the silly trinket that Bingo apparently, the silly lady that Bingo apparently associates with now, wanted us to find. And I literally walked past it like at least 2 times. I'm pretty sure it was like 4 or so. And did not find this thing. The only way I ended up finding it was literally by asking somebody to like where the heck it was, and they gave me the coordinates, and I realized that I walked past this area however many times because it's off alone on this place that I don't want to spoil for everyone. If you do want it spoiled, feel free to watch any of the Bingo Boffin series, myself or Pinely for anybody else, or I'm sure it's on LOTRO Wiki by now. But it was very annoying to have to look for that long for something that should not have taken that long. And my biggest pet peeve, which thankfully Made of Lions is going to change, is that the guards are not helping you find this intruder even remotely. And like you're telling me that there's this crazy intruder that we're supposedly supposed to be really, really worrying about, and yet none of the guards have any clues or hints or anything. Nobody's seen anything. We have to just search the city for this unknown thing. Okay. I don't know. It was alright. It just took a very, very long time, and the place to find it is not out of the way you think it would be. So, I don't know. Anyway, Carve, what have you been up to this week?
Well, this week I think I'm trying to start a new trend for crafting on my free-to-play stream. PvP for ore nodes. Me and a friend of mine, Das Geek, have decided that on Saturday mornings when we're streaming together, since we're both prospectors, whenever we find an ore node, we spar for it. Which became quite funny because we're both like, when we first started doing it, we were like level 10 in the Chetwood, and then this week we were a little bit higher level. But as a captain going versus a champion, I was cleaning his clock repeatedly because I would heal myself and then scream at him and then hit him with my big two-hander. And so as the morning went on, he would he would insist I handicap myself. So first it was, what do you mean? You've got a herald? No, you're cheating. There's 2 of you. So I would dismiss my herald. And then he was like, you can't heal yourself either. So I stopped healing myself. And then he was like, what? No, one button. You can use one skill. So it was quite wild and crazy, but it was a lot of fun. So we thought that eventually, if we can get a bunch of captains together, we should have a herald fight club. And do sparring and just have our heralds duke it out and have fun with that. It's on my Twitch channel as highlights if you want to check out some of the craziness from 2 guys goofing around in the woods. Another fun thing I discovered this week is that Halth Valendil, which is one of the 3 Anuminous instances, is a great place to work on Evidim's the Mrafen Slayer, which is those stupid little light bulbs. And it also doubles as a way to get the spirits aiding Agmar and Anuminous as well. So you run that dungeon, there's like tons of those little light bulbs in there. And if you're like one of those players who waits until level cap to do your Slayer deeds, run that Joker at level 50 a few times, get a bunch of gear and LI drops, pass them down to your alts or stick them on the auction house, and you can knock through that deed relatively quickly because there's a lot of those light bulbs in there. And there's Caregram too. So pro tip for that. And the other really fun thing that we do every week was I took the Beard Kissers, along with Wildflower, into the Lone Lands. Now, Wildflower, can you tell us more about that expedition?
That was great. That was horrible. So what I did in LOTRO was I yelled at Carver a lot because he kept making me fight spiders, which, as you may or may not know, is quite repugnant to me. And so there's a lot of yelling, shrieking, making that weird sound that I make. And that's it. And I also, oh God, you took the picture again. Stop it.
Like that.
So,
Like that.
you know what? Why do I keep looking? Why am I trusting you here? I don't understand myself. Okay. Like, oh, he won't do it to me. I did it again. Okay, the other thing I do with LOTRO is when I feel like killing perhaps a small child, I will go and kill some orcs instead because that's legal. And then we'll waste all that money we've already spent on them. And that's poor money management. So
Yes.
that's what I do and that's what I did this week.
Oh yeah, we also visited that Gabi hippie commune.
The
They
hippie
kept
community,
dropping all their pot.
the pod droppers.
Yes, the
Tell
Gabi
you
hippie
what,
commune.
you
Yes,
gotta
can't
pass it
remember them.
right, and they
Yeah.
just kept dropping it.
Yep.
They must
Yep.
have some supplier
That was right before
that's cheap
Spider
or
Canyon.
something.
Yeah.
And Carve was
Yeah.
grabbing lots of things.
Ash. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a horrible ash grabber.
He was you grabbing my ash. Yeah.
Well, you were going for the ore, so I was grabbing the ash.
Yeah.
It's gonna get bad. I'll stop. Terry Admin,
Ah.
how was your week?
Well, I have to say, I completely understand Wildflower's killing stuff in game instead of killing people. Because I've had days where I've just come home and wanted to yell at stuff until it died. But this week, I discovered the Dwarven drinking song in a rare perusal of the forums. Actually, actually, technically, I found it last week, but we were trying to get in touch with the person who had posted it and didn't hear back from them until after the podcast was over. So I'm using it in this week's highlights because I'm going to sing it.
Yay.
Nice.
Okay. Doe the stuff that buys my beer, Ray the guy who serves me beer, me the guy who drinks my beer, far a long way to the John, so I'll have another beer, la 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 beer, gee, no thanks, I'm having beer, and that brings us back to Doe, and you're welcome.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
That basically made my week last week.
Link me that so I can have fun with that.
What was that?
Link that to me
Oh,
somehow.
I have the lyrics in a text file. I'll send it to you.
I've heard somebody sing that completely non-related to Dwarven anything, but just because he liked beer. But I heard somebody sing that maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I haven't heard it since. And that was like blast from the past. It was pretty sweet.
Nice.
Yeah, and my challenge mini did the Wildemore quest chain, and she's actually the first character to finish all of the Wildemore quests, because usually I lose it halfway in the middle because I'm trying to do the epic at the same time. So this time I decided, since she's not doing anything legendary related, she was going to focus more on the Wildemore story instead of the epic story. And she also did finish that bit of the epic, and she's made it to Western Rohan and level 89. In the process of that, here's another spoiler alert for people who may or may not know this. If you do the assembling of the Grey Company, and you take the option when you get to Halros that Halros should stay, there is, in Wildemore, as you're doing the bits of the epic, you unlock optional ranger session plays, so you can go through and you can see what their storyline is after you've parted ways with them, and there's some great bits with Cyrodiil, and there's some stuff with Calanglad and Radnir. And there's one where Halros is in the Shire, and he has an evening stroll with Bounder Primstone up from his glade up into, the little oat barton. And there's a very interesting dialogue that happens during that session. And I was not aware that that was a thing, because normally I pick that Halros should go, so I've never experienced that before. But this character decided that Halros should stay, so there you go. If you've got another character, if you've done the Grey Company stuff before and you've done the session plays, if you didn't pick that Halros should stay option, go through it, take another character through it, pick the Halros should stay option, because it's totally worth it for the Wildemore stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, I know.
Cool.
I had done that on my Bjorning. In fact, I think it was the last episode in December, I think, was when I did that Halros instance.
Yeah. I was very surprised at some of the dialogue in there. I cracked up really hard because it
So
was
like
so
it
funny.
actually changes the quest later on, like the dialogue versus the stay go option.
Well, yeah, because
It's a
if
completely
you,
different instance.
if he goes, it's a totally different session because he's with direct from the Great Company.
Oh,
So if
gotcha.
he stays, he doesn't have that walk unless he stays in the Shire, and it's totally worth it. And then the
Ah,
other thing
dude,
I did
cool.
was I took the Tuesday remnants, which is everybody that was left after Carve and Wildflower abandoned us Tuesday night, and we took our level 100 characters on a 5-man romp through Samoth Ghoul, and Lange of Alteri met the same fate as Sarissa did.
No, guys, I got this. We're okay.
And I was deliberately had my back to the wall, to the wall of the fortress that I couldn't be bounced off of. No, that stupid NPC yanked me toward him and then tossed me up over the wall. I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, that one's brutal.
They're evil.
It
They
was
are
it was a
very
horrible,
evil.
horrible thing. So yeah, that knockback is not fun. But aside from that one death, which I'm not even going to say was NPC related, it was random mechanic related. We got through it fairly successfully.
Cool.
Had a lot of fun.
Awesome.
So, Aerother, what have you been up to?
Wheelp. Because I wasn't here last week. Was I? I don't think I was. It's been a long week
You
this
weren't.
week. I weren't?
I don't think
Okay.
so.
So last week, I'm going to do 2 weeks in one because last week was spring break at the school where I teach. So, of course, that means time to play Lotro. So I did. And I was mostly on my work, and I finally hit rank 10, which I was very excited about, which for me is a big deal. So, yay, rank 10. And then the following, like this week, I haven't actually done much at all. Ergo, long week because first week back from spring break. So, but I did do the regular Wednesday Bingo Boffin stream. It was the last one gonna be doing on the Lotro stream, and we hit level 83. Eritani hit level 83 afterwards, and I'm in the middle of the epic quests. And as luck would have it, my VIP ran out, so it's like just epic quests now, and he's 4 levels below them, which makes it a lot of
Oh,
fun. So lots
well,
of
no,
kiting.
he's a mini that actually has an LI, so he should be fine.
Yeah, he'll survive.
Because I just did it
And
on my mini, and she doesn't have an LI.
okay, I'll just let that sit there for a minute. Okay. Also, I helped
What if I did that?
I helped Lotro Maven get Myth Guardian, the channel for Signum University, like Tolkien Professor and Mythgard Academy and all that stuff, Mythgard Institute. They've got a Twitch channel, and we made a new one because branding, yo. So they have a new Twitch channel, twitch.tv/SignumU. So we got that set up and
Cool.
put online, and also got my characters on Landreval into the Mythgard kinship. So I'm going to be starting to do stuff over there as well.
Cool.
So yeah, that was my week in Lotro.
Awesome.
How about you, Pine Leaf?
All right, I'll begin with my weekly group skirmishes, where I ran a pair of T3 skirmish raids over on Crick Hollow. We first
That wasn't
did.
responsible.
Hmm?
That wasn't responsible, Pine Leaf.
Why
Running
was it
T3
irresponsible?
skirmish raids. The crazy person.
That particular group does them every single week.
Yeah, I know.
And T3 skirmish raids, and started with the Way of Smiths, which went reasonably well. And then after that, we were doing Defense of the Prancing Pony, and Heat Straw was not skirmishing responsibly.
Yes. Those wacky old retired captain guys.
Yeah, he just went out and decided that he was going to join into the fight and get himself killed. So therefore, we didn't quite finish that second one.
Ugh.
And of course, that wasn't the only skirmish I was doing. I was also running other skirmishes all over the place, especially several runs of Tuckborough and Danninglore.
Well,
And
yeah, because Pine Leaf, you can't just skirmish a little bit. You have to have like your skirmish sides and your skirmish appetizer and all the different skirmishes that you need to sustain yourself each week with your skirmish meals.
Definitely got to have your fully balanced skirmish buffet.
Yeah, those skirmish tortillas, to bring back an old Locher players joke.
Is Is skirmish like the word of the week or something, and I'm just now learning about it?
No, it's just Pine Leaf's
it's just
turn.
Pine Leaf. It's just Pine
Okay.
Leaf.
Right. All right. And then I also ran a few quests in Minas Tirith, essentially trying to round out a few of the local quests before, in an effort to get ready for the update that's coming up on Tuesday. So let's then head into news beyond the Lotros, and we'll look into Middle-earth video highlights, Diggy Diggy Hole.
Yes,
Which is
Pine Leaf.
awesome.
This is the reason that Maven is not on the show tonight. We
Mike is glaring at me from across the room. I had nothing to do with it.
Digging hole.
No, seriously, that's not why Maven's gone this week. She has very legitimate reasons, but we did decide, and by we I mean myself and a bunch of other awesome people for recommending it, like Squirrel, decided to have this as the video highlight this week. Diggy Diggy Hole is a thing done by the Yogscast that is an awesome song that will get in your head forever and ever.
It really is. It really is.
And ever. It is a very heroic dwarven song about
Wait,
mining.
did you use the 10-hour one?
I did not. I thought about it.
There's a
I
10-hour
legitimately
one.
thought about putting
And
that
there's
in.
one that like progressively gets faster and faster and faster as it goes. It like doubles in speed. So it's like
Diggy
spinning
Diggy
goes-
Chipmunk Hole.
Yeah. There's like Diggy Diggy Hole, and there's like Diggy Diggy Hole 2 times, Diggy Diggy Hole times 3, and it just keeps getting progressively faster until it sounds like Smurfs on speed.
Yeah, that's actually the case with pretty much every song like this that ends up on YouTube. They do stuff like that, and I thought about it, but I decided just to have the original and then people can go and find the others if they want to. I wasn't going to throw them into that kind of torture just yet.
Classic,
Can you
man.
imagine if like somebody says, "Dude, you got to listen to this video to the entire end," and you link in the 10-hour version?
So somebody actually
like the
linked
worst kind of
the
trolling.
Gandalf sax video where he's bobbing his head and it has
Yeah.
the sax. Somebody put a 10-hour version on that, and I might have listened to that for like an hour or so and then turned away from it at one point in my life. So
I have set Diggy Diggy Hole on while I'm like trying to knock out a bunch of stuff, whether it's like work or
Yeah.
just like because it's epic
it
stuff.
is. It
And
There's
is.
you're
the
like,
one
yeah,
that's on-
oh, just get
that's on the 1 hour
yard
loop.
work.
There's the one on the 1 hour loop, and there's no crazy changes in the speed or anything. It's just a repeat of the video. It's just on a 1 hour loop. I have done that while I'm questing in Moria, because why not?
Why not? I like epic music when I'm questing. It's fun.
Yeah.
Although another thing that's fun to do is put on like really fast, like Kentucky bluegrass or some Irish jigs or something while you're running through the fields. Yeah, it's great.
What you really want to do is while you're driving, put on the epic Chance Thomas music, and you will have a totally different driving highway experience than you've ever had in your life. It's amazing. It's absolutely
90
amazing.
miles an hour later.
Oh, you think you can come in front
Well,
of me?
you know, you only get like 20 tickets. It's not too bad. It's not
Only
too bad.
Only.
Only.
Don't try this at home. Try
Right,
it
you
out
want
on
to
the
try it
road.
on the highway.
Yeah.
That's kind of music you can blast and then roll down your windows when you're at a stoplight and then stare at the person next to you.
So is Diggy
Actually,
Diggy
the
Hole.
best song for that is the hamster dance.
Heck yes! I
Gosh.
would so do that.
So
The
now that
non-
Pine Leaf's just lost, let's move on to the
Yeah.
next.
Right. Okay, let's head into the mood
Sorry.
of the week where we will discuss the pros and cons of hobbits.
They're tasty. With butter.
4 out of
How
5
long were you
boards
waiting for that, Era
agree.
Third?
Hobbit
How
feet
long
are good
were you
for
waiting
two.
for that?
All right.
5 out of
Just have
5
a
boards
collection
agree.
of lucky hobbits feet.
That's right.
We will look at how they are pros and cons in the books, in the films, and in various depictions in games. So let us begin with the books. Does anyone have anything they wish to say about what they like of the depiction of hobbits within the various books?
There was desperation in your voice, Pine Leaf. I could tell you really wanted us to move on. I
Please,
mean,
let's try not to go on too many rabbit trails.
So, the book hobbits, they're.
first of all,
I mean, that's like Hobbit OG. So In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit.
Exactly.
You can't get much more hobbit than Hobbit.
That's
This
how
is
it all
true.
started, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
It started on the back of a test that he was grading, or a paper or something that he was grading.
Yep.
Super awesome.
So I mean, the thing that I like most about the hobbits is that they're a completely thought out race and culture. The concerning hobbits chapter in the book is, it's presented as not so much as this is this story that I'm telling you, but this is what you need to understand this history that I'm about to tell
Yeah.
you. The
Yeah.
fact that he includes concerning hobbits at the very beginning before you do anything else gives it the weight of history right from the very beginning. So just the way he treats hobbits with a simultaneous respect and tongue-in-cheek irony sometimes is perfectly balanced in my opinion.
It's like the kindergarten history. It's like, this is Earth, it's where you live, and now we're going to move on to talk about actual history in first grade.
Yeah. Now, concerning, yeah, of course,
Sure.
remember, concerning hobbits is in the Lord of the Rings, and there was an
Right.
entire.
Well, yeah, because he really
There
didn't
was
talk a whole lot about who the hobbits were as a culture and a people in The Hobbit. He
Right.
didn't actually lay it because
He
the
got
only
more into
hobbit that we-
biology, yeah.
well, I mean the only hobbit that we really interact with in The Hobbit is Bilbo, and we don't need to necessarily know all of his background because
right.
his background doesn't really matter to the story so much as the journey and the adventure that he's on. So it's
Yeah,
not
and-
actually
and
really
you
until
do-
The Lord of the Rings that we really need to understand Hobbit culture.
Yeah.
Well, you do get a small taste of it at the end when you had the whole thing with the auction and the and all that mess.
Yeah, you get enough of Bilbo's backstory to understand that this is very atypical for his kind.
Right.
But you really don't get the in-depth, these are who the Hobbit race are until the Lord of the Ring. I know I keep hitting my mic stand, it's horrible. Um, until you get into the Lord of the Rings, and then all of a sudden the reason these other hobbits are doing this monumental thing is such a big deal. It's really cool. Although, I will admit, go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say, you get to see how the world developed from The Hobbit to The Lord of the Rings, not just in story. Like there's a lot more world in The Lord of the Rings than there is in Hobbit geographically, but also like in the depth of Hobbit culture. Like in The Hobbit, you get the characteristics of Bilbo and that hobbits like food and things like that and what a hobbit hole is, but that's pretty much the extent of it. You don't get the history like what in plug for Middle Earth Lore movie series or video series or whatever on YouTube. The first episode, you don't get any of that until Lord of the Rings. So it shows the books have the advantage of showing the progression of how they came to be.
All right. Does anyone have any cons then for the depiction in the books?
Shire history is confusing before you compile it into a
God.
video.
Sure.
And hobbits are actually sort of really silly about a lot of things.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
How many times did we say because hobbits before releasing episode 1, Terry? It must have been like it was well over 1,000.
We were still saying because hobbits for other episodes
We
when
were.
things didn't make sense. We just blamed the hobbits.
Yeah.
Poor hobbits.
One of the things about the Hobbits that it can be a con depending on how you approach it is that when you start Lord of the Rings, you're told this book is epic. There's such a great story, and it's about men and dwarves and elves and hobbits, and they're fighting against this evil warlord. I mean, it's awesome. And you grab the book and you pick it up, and it's all doo-doo-doo, concerning hobbits. Hobbits are short, round, fat people who live on the ground, and you're like, what?
Like the prime conflict in the first bit is Lobelia stole my spoons.
I know exactly, and what's interesting is that like a friend of mine, his son, who is an advanced, I guess he's what 6 or 7, was like messing with his dad. So he's like, I want to read something. So his dad like shows him the Fellowship and says, well, here, look at the maps in this. And so the kid flips to the first page and starts reading, and he's just kind of browsing through it and needing a little help with the big words. And so finally he looks up at his dad and says, so when do we get to the goblins?
I
And I'm like, I can understand that because I've read through
Is-
the book several times, but there are times when I read through and I'm like in the middle of Hobbit dumb, and I'm going, oh, can't I just like mithril coin to the next chapter?
Ironically enough, the parts about hobbits are some of my favorites.
Yeah.
So I mean, they were one of Tolkien's favorite parts, just talking about the hobbits because he identified with them so closely. Because
The
the Shire was based on the England that he grew up in.
well,
Loosely.
the early stuff about hobbits is great.
Hmm.
It's the scouring of the Shire bits
Oh
that
my gosh. Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
even the actual text detailing how all of this played out. I read it, and we were trying to do like the first episode of Middle Earth Lore, and we'd been cutting and commenting and doing all of this. This makes no sense. We can't have this be like this. And I came back to Anding after having read, like I read the Scouring chapter, and I come back to Anding and I'm like, so I just read the Scouring of the Shire chapter in the book, and it actually makes less sense than what we have in our series.
Well, what's funny is at one point on the stuff that we had, Terry was like, "We can't release this. This is absolutely horrible. It makes no sense whatsoever. There's no way it will ever make sense. This doesn't make any sense."
But it's okay, because it doesn't make any sense in the book either.
But eventually we did get to something that made, at least it had a chronology, and it started to make a
I
good amount
never.
of sense.
I'll have to go back and read it. I've never noticed any. Like I've never had a problem understanding that chapter.
Well, it's
I always
not an
liked that
issue of
chapter. It's one my
understanding.
favorites.
It's just there's
It's just
so much that goes on in a very
from
small
a
amount of time.
practical type of standpoint, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure that we still have nightmares about trying to edit that chapter on the Scouring of the Shire because it's just,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
All right, then let's head into the films. And anyone have any pros, things that they really liked about how hobbits were depicted in the films?
Yes. Numero uno.
Martin
Music.
Freeman.
That too.
All right, the music.
The fact, like, New Zealand's pretty.
You're like the greatest adventure.
Not that film.
No,
The
it's not like
Peter
you-
Jackson
That one's
films.
good too.
You
That
got
one's
you got
good
like
too.
what's awesome about the hobbits? A potato. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. Potatoes. And all the fan
Sam in
remixes
general
and
is
stuff.
great.
Yeah. Sean Astin
Sounds
really
awesome.
knocked out.
Mhm. Yeah, he really did.
Out, Samwise. And
Tolkien
Frodo's
called
got
him the
kind of got
principal
that.
protagonist of the story.
Yeah.
So there.
Frodo kind of got that '80s emo thing going on, but Samwise has got it. And I love the comic stylings of Merry and Pippin in the movies,
Yeah.
even though they're a little bit more serious in the books, and they're not quite.
Well, they're
the
way
knucklehead
more
some might
serious in the
believe.
books.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice.
I
in
mean,
way
the
it was
fireworks
portrayed.
scene,
Yeah.
Yeah. But
That was great. Let's do
it
another one.
worked in the movie.
it
Yeah,
did work in the
The,
movie.
the
It
way
helped
they
move
played
on.
off of each other really worked.
And
Yeah.
it was something to get you into the movie while somewhat boring things are going on if you're wanting a more actiony thing.
Well,
If you're wanting to get to the goblins.
Exactly.
Well, it's kind of a simultaneous upside and downside of the film's depiction of hobbits is that especially with Pippin and Merry, they really did use them primarily as comic relief,
Hmm.
much like they did with Gimli, and it kind of was like, well,
Little
he's so
too
much
much
more than
comic.
that. Hobbits, like, there's so much more than that. Actually, Sean Astin, and I think like in his autobiography, he talks about how he really, really hated that scene in like the Council of Elrond where Merry and Pip were like, "Oh, take us too. Where are we going?" And he was like, "Ugh, they're just totally making hobbits look like idiots." And it kind of,
Yeah.
but yeah, at the same, like, I understand why they did it, but at the same time, it's like, well, I mean, Merry is actually highly intelligent in the books. He's probably the most intelligent of all of the hobbits, and he knows his way around Middle Earth just from studying maps. Merry was studying maps in Rivendell.
Yeah.
You don't get that in the film.
Well, I think that they do have nice character development, though. So by the end of the story, they do seem much closer to their book counterparts, I think.
I would agree.
all right. Any cons for the hobbits depicted in the films?
You just did.
Yeah, we did some of those.
Well, not just that, but
They did.
the society in general. seemed like they didn't really care what else was going on
Yeah.
in the rest of the world. Like, oh, that's nice for them. We're just gonna go have 11sies, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, hobbits really don't.
They
They're very
don't.
much like, we don't care what's going on around the borders. It's very few hobbits that were like, so there's news from Breetown. Really, do tell. That
I,
was, you know.
I think my con is that we don't get enough of Shire culture in the film. It's very quick on the, like, if you look at everything that's not the core hobbits, there's very, very little that explains like the rest of the Shire.
So basically, what you want is like we need to make this happen actually, like the Shire instead of The Office, where it's just like hobbits going around their daily business and then getting interviewed about it, and it'd be great.
Getting themselves in trouble. Yeah, well, you know, old Stinkfoot from down South Farthing Way, he was trying to get me a raw deal on some pipeweed, but, well, we set him straight, you know. Our mushrooms are more valuable than that.
Another
So,
another really big con is that they didn't do the scouring.
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah, that's
which
frustrating.
is a super important part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Now, considering the thing about you say a chance to go on and see hobbits along their daily lives, it's almost as if you created a game where you could immerse yourself into the Shire.
Are you making a segue, Pine Leaf?
The transition is real.
Yeah, not talking about, of course, the pros for the games.
Yes, the games I think are mostly awesome. I think that they do a great job of showing Hobbit culture and Hobbit life, and the questing even reflects that. There are quests in LOTRO that are unlike any other MMO because of hobbits.
I would say the downside. Well, the pros is obviously you can let out your inner small person and be a hobbit. And Hobbit Guardians are the most hilarious things ever because you can tank like a giant thing, wham, on this little tiny hobbit, and it's like ah, and it's great because Hobbit yells are amazing. And actually, fun fact: Hobbit yells were voiced by Maid of Lions. Anyways, male Hobbit yells. So
Really?
yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Made
So,
by
like-
Maid of Lions.
Yep, the male hobbit screams. Like if you're a hobbit minstrel screaming, that's Maid of Lions.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Probably a little
That's
bit of...
according to
so-
there was something he said at some point somewhere, and that was the case, and we're all like, "Oh, that's great." The downside, my opinion, the downside of the hobbits in the games is that you get almost entirely that hobbits are sort of derp the derp, you know, like you don't really come across many intelligent hobbits in the game at all.
Yeah, as far as
And
the
it
NPC
really
crap
does,
goes.
like even to the even going as far as the emotes, like laughing. It's like if you're a man, you're like ha ha ha, and you slap your leg, and if you're a hobbit, you go ha, you flop down on your back, you kick your legs in the air, and you clutch your stomach. That's normal. Like
Yes, but I mean, I think they have to do something to differentiate the different races and also differentiate the different type of playstyles. And so if you want to play a serious character, that's the man character. You can play a serious Hobbit character, just don't ever use that emote.
yeah, that's the thing though. Is like I think it does tend to emphasize the silliness.
It
of
does.
hobbits a little bit.
Yeah, I think that might have been helpful if, all right, if the big laughs would have been that one going onto the ground, that maybe at least giggle could have been a tamer laugh than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, giggles like
Yeah, right. But they have you falling onto the ground and as if it were a major laugh with the hobbits.
it's like
"What?"
that
was
one
the
friend
funniest
that always
thing
gets
ever?
jokes. It's like that one friend that always gets jokes too late and then dies laughing. It's
But
like
I-
everyone else is like, it's pretty funny, and then like 30 seconds pass, and the one guy's like,
But I would rather have that in the game than not.
yeah. I mean, you never know when if you've ever wanted to roll around on your back and kick your legs in the air and have it be perfectly socially acceptable to something that really wasn't that funny, play a hobbit.
Today.
Exactly.
All right. Anyone else have any pros, cons for any of these?
I don't know. One of the things about the hobbits, it's not so much a con to the race itself, just kind of an annoyance, is they've done such a great job of emphasizing camera angles and like physical stature of the hobbit when you're fighting or playing as a hobbit. You walk through a puddle that nobody else notices, but your hobbit's dismounted and swimming. It's like, oh, come
Yeah, I
on.
was gonna say you walk through those puddles. I don't.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like, like just this morning I was running around the that street in Evendim that's got all the king's tombs on it, and there's all those puddles like right up next to the road, and some of those puddles are a little bit deeper than Hobbit depth allows. So if you're like trying to quickly move away from mobs or do something, you're running, and then all of a sudden you're swimming, and then you're running again. It's like, oh, come on. So I mean, that is both a con and a pro. At the same time, it's really kind of cool when you're on a Hobbit to scurry under underbrush that you couldn't do on your man character. So that's fun as well.
Right.
It does get kind of awkward though when you're a Hobbit guardian and you're like tanking a troll who's wearing nothing but a loincloth,
Praise the Lord.
or a giant. You're like, I'm gonna get him so mad. Watch this. I'm gonna kick him in the shins. And he's like, oh.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun.
I remember there was this article, this series being done by, so I can't remember what his name was, but he had this hobbit called Lulzy or something like that. And during the time of it, they would always be given directions to his character. He says, "Yes, go over there. Don't worry, the water is very shallow. You won't have to worry about it." So the next scene, because it's done with pictures, shows the Hobbit with their head underwater with only the hat showing. He says, "I hate big folk."
Yes, totally.
We currently have 24 supporters on Patreon, and if you would like to join this illustrious rate of players and help support LOTRO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on the podcast of your choice, or even be a guest host here on LOTRO Players News. And how far are we from the next goal?
Well, Pineleaf, we are a ways away from the XP Quest giveaway, which was a $100 Steam card giveaway. And it would be super awesome because people can buy all sorts of things, including turbine points and all sorts of other stuff. And, it also helps support the network. And so we can continue to grow and, really promote all of our stuff and pay for all the hosting fees and things like that and continue to just grow the network.
All right. This week we have an email from MKJP_2014 and Corvette. What does he say?
Greetings, LOTRO players. Thank you for the LOTRO Players News. I love the show and just now thought of asking you a question as I am exhausted of looking online. I am not really a new player to LOTRO, as this will be my second year this December. I already have 2 characters at cap, well, at least the current cap, so I have experienced most of the game by now. However, there is one thing that I really don't understand. That is Hitbolt. In particular, how do you unlock the other class's armor so that you can pass it on to your alts? If you could explain how these quests and Highbolt work, I would be most appreciative. Thank you so much for taking the time to read this note. Have an awesome day. MKJP 2014 Glad and Champ. Well, MKJP, thank you for your email. Having recently been through the exact same thing, the trick is you have to make sure that you complete all the dailies to get kindred with all 4 factions. Once you do that, you have to make sure you've built everything out in Hitbold, and once you've done that, then you have to look around Hitbold for that one last NPC with that one quest that sends you back to, I want to say it's the Norcrofts, to finish up that line of quests that has that detective story. Because then it'll unlock the ability to do that final little bit of the story, and then you get the NPCs for all the other armor suits.
What happens if you have not yet done the detective story?
I don't know. I didn't do it that way.
Yeah, so therefore, if you're having trouble finding that NPC, maybe you have not done the detective story, and perhaps you need to go and do that before.
Yeah, that guy's in Cliving, is he not?
Yes.
Yeah, Cliving.
Yeah. So you have to do the detective quest line in Cliving, and then you got to do Hitbold, and then you got to find that last quest because it gives you that last little bit of the story, and then it finally takes you to the end bit that completes the story arc for all of, was that Eastern Rohan? Yeah, Eastern Rohan. It finishes up that entire quest arc. The Thanes have their meeting. it goes to the process, and then after all that mess, then the other NPCs unlock so that you can buy armor for your alts.
And that made a lot more sense when it came out. Now that the game has been out for so long, it's hard to realize that because back then you could just, be traveling all over the new zone to see if there were any quests and all over these places, and there was news about like you're supposed to go here and then all these other places. And so now that that's so far removed, it's hard to find information on how exactly to do that. So glad to have our new player question in email form this week.
The other answer to that is to Google a hit bolt guide and then read Fred's guide on the floor, Fred Ellis's guide on the forums, which is slightly outdated just because the costs have been updated and now it's only like a single token for each thing. But all of the rest of the information still applies as far as the quest information and which NPCs are where, the map that's in here, the various quests and where you can do them. It's an extremely detailed guide.
Yep, that works too. Just out of curiosity, Pineleaf, how many times have you done Hypebolt?
Completely, probably only, I suspect only a few times. I don't think I have a full count on it. I have not done it on every character I have. I could tell you that.
Put it this way: enough times to lose track.
I've never actually finished it.
Well, I know I've
I haven't
finished
either.
it at least once. That's
But I
something I
have-
could be completely sure on.
I have seen it finished because I have a sister, her name's Frydra, and I watched her finish it and watched the cinematic and all that stuff, and it's actually pretty cool, but I just didn't want to dedicate that much time coming back every
Well,
however
it's
often.
not that bad now because
That's true.
In addition to the fact that they've like slashed the prices, so you get like everything is one token, so you get your tokens and you can rebuild large portions of the city very quickly. I think they did something else, and I can't remember if they boosted the amount of reputation you get, or they lowered the amount of reputation costs, or if you've got a stack of marks and medallions, buy those reputation tomes from the skirm camp. I use those bad boys all the way through rebuilding Hypebolt. So, there's a lot of different ways you can speed it up now. So instead of taking 40 some odd days, it takes like, a week or two.
I may have to do that on my Minstrel.
I did it on Carvet on Landerval, and I will probably be using that. As a matter of fact, I think I still have that armor set on my Bjorning for quite a while.
It's really good armor. Like the
Yeah,
armor sets
it
from
is.
Hitbold will last you easily through Helm's Deep.
I don't know. I felt like it was getting pretty old in that era because of the equipment escalation that happens in
that
Western
blood
Rohan.
hits you pretty hard once you cross the river, but if you're like on a Bjorning, that's the best you're going to get until you can get the 90 crafted stuff.
Well,
But,
yeah,
At least
there
I know
is
at least for
that.
the Guardians, for the set bonuses. on
Yeah,
it.
now
Yes.
for Carvet, I held on to 2 pieces of that armor for as long as possible because you get a really nice bleed damage buff. And there are certain set combinations that are awesome to hold for different classes.
Yeah, I don't remember there being any really awesome set bonuses for Wardens, so therefore I think I can.
Oh, like Wardens need an awesome set. I mean, come on.
If you would like to email us, you can send the email to podcast@lotraplayers.com. You could also follow us at Twitter, The Players Alliance @PlayersAlly, Lotro Players @LotroPlayers, Anding @PVMP_Anding, Arithert @Arithert, Carvet @CarvetLP, Maven @TokenMaven, Pineleaf @Pineleaf Needles, and Terry Adwin @Terry Adwin. And you can also follow our guest, Wildflower, @Wheels or Flowers.
Weeds.
Yes.
Weeds.
Oh, weeds,
or flowers.
Which actually points you to her Twitter, which also points you to her blog, which is Weeds or Wildflowers, whereupon Wildflower talks about crafty stuff and how to navigate a individual education profiling plan, which is an IEP, in case your kid has above average intelligence or needs a little assistance. And she talks about other random positively go get the world because you're awesome type bloggy stuff. So
Yeah, and this is a fairly new Twitter, so let's help Weeds of Flowers get all the way.
Weeds or flowers.
Let's help Weeds or Flowers get all the way to
Because
100.
Wildflowers was too long.
get all the
Yeah.
way to 100 followers this week. That would be super awesome.
So,
So let's help that happen.
yay.
The Players Alliance has 5 live shows every Monday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We have DDO Players News. Every other Thursday at 9 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have XP Quest. Do we really have regular shows in XP Quest currently?
No, Pineleaf, we don't, but there could be someday.
There could be some days.
There was actually an episode that was released just this last week.
All right. On the last Friday of every month at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have LOTRO Players News After School. Every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have LOTRO Players News, and every other Saturday after LOTRO Players News, we have Tales of the Free Folk. You can join us for our live shows at LOTROplayers.com/live. Thank you, everyone, for listening. This is Pineleaf Niels reminding you to skirmish responsibly.